Okay, so resetting a forgotten password. This is pretty straightforward, right? We all do this. So user clicks forgot password, system sends reset link, user sets new password. If link fails, user contacts help desk. Help desk manually resets the password. How would we design this process flow? One of the things that you have to think about when you're looking at process flow is, where do you start? Where does this process start? So I'm going to try to use my Lucidchart for this. All right, so let's continue with this reset password. So I'm going to go to Lucidchart just to give you a variety. And by the way, this is I was looking for this last time. If you guys remember in the live training, I was like, where is the login? I was logged into the wrong Lucidchart. So these are examples of process flows I've designed in the past for other projects I've worked on and different things I've been doing. So I've used Lucidchart quite a bit for a number of different things over the years. And these are just some of the examples of the process flows and other diagrams that I've been able to create using Lucidchart. I think it's a wonderful tool. And I haven't used it in a while for now, because we've been using some other tool at my company, but I think Lucidchart is pretty good. So when you go to create from template, there's a ton of templates, which is what I love about it. By the way, this is my paid version. I'm in the individual plan. There's also a free plan, so you can try it, but you only get like three diagrams for free. And there's some limit to how many processes you can have in each diagram and some other limitations. But you can, you can definitely still create process flow with it. And if you get stuck, you can always use another tool that we like to use called draw.io. And there's a ton of them. You just need to Google process flow diagrams. You can also use AI. So AI has mermaid.ai. And we have a project that we're doing right now. The only thing I would say about the AI is, because I want you to learn how to do it yourself, I don't think you should use the AI to do it for you, because you're not learning the technical skills. But if you're just wanting to see how AI could be programmed to do the diagram, it can. And there's also Copilot. There's a ton of AI tools out there that if you can feed it the problem, it can probably map it for you, but it defeats the purpose of learning how to do it so you can spot. The purpose of doing the process map is not to know how to draw lines and how to put shapes together. You can get AI to help you in the future, but it's for you to identify where are the inefficiencies. That's the human skill, analysis skills that you're bringing to the table as a BA that they're paying you for. Where are we doing it wrong? Where can we make it more improved? And like we just looked at the example with the loops. Loops are a great giveaway for things that could potentially be optimized. It doesn't mean that every loop has to be optimized, but you can see, okay, this can be happening circular. It's a circle, right? And there's only one way to get out. So maybe people could be stuck in this for a while. So how do we make sure that doesn't happen? So those are good, indicators when you do the process map. And also, if you do a decision, you're going to see that in a minute. If you do a decision and you don't see another option, like you see the yes arm, but you don't see the no, you're like, okay, well, this is missing something. What happens if this doesn't happen? So what do we do, right? So especially when you're building new software, you want to make sure you cover all the eventualities, and building a process map to be able to see the steps is a great way to visualize it and to bring that to light, right? So here we are in Lucidchart, and let's see, do we need a swim lane for this, for forgotten password? I don't think so. I think this could be just a regular process. So we're going to go here and choose just like a flow chart. Let's click on use, see what happens. All right, Lucidchart is doing its magic. Okay. So here we have a process. I don't know why the text looks so weird. Oh, it's fixed. Okay. So here it provides you with this random process that you may or may not use. In our case, I don't think we're going to use this. But if you need to have a starting point, at least now you could create a template and edit it. Actually, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to start from scratch with the text. So you can put a text, and you can always change your text size, I believe. Yes, here. And Lucidchart has themes with colors and sizes and stuff, so you can get very granular if you want to. Okay, and then you start with our terminator that we just had, and this would be start. Okay. And then we have this first process that we just said we'll do, which was user is on the login page. And we want to start our processes with a verb because it's an action, it's a task, right? So let's see how this works. There you go, much simpler. That's exactly what I wanted. So sometimes you gotta be careful with the templates. The templates come with some built-in formulas and built-in conditional formatting that we may or may not want. In my case, I don't want that. So once you access the login page, then you're gonna click on the forgotten password, right? So let's do this. Click on forgotten password. Okay. Once you click on the forgotten password, what's the normal step? So different people handle forgotten password differently. Typically, for most systems at least, you'll be asked to put in your email address. So this says send a link, but that's not really true. Before I can send the link, I want to verify who you are, so I know who to send the link to. So there's a couple steps in this, right? So okay. So then the next step that I would have is I would need to confirm who you are. So the user would enter email address. Okay. So let's do that. Enter email address. And then once you enter the email address, there's a decision that needs to be made. The system needs to decide, does this email address exist? Now, here's the trick. Sometimes, depending on the security posture of the system, we would expose whether or not the email address exists. So sometimes, depending, for example, with a bank, we're not telling you nothing. Okay? So if you put a fake email in there, we just tell you that we sent the link to the email. Even though we don't have that email anywhere, nothing was sent. We just tell you that anyway. Or we don't expose that this doesn't exist. But if I'm just doing like, a little social media thing, they'll say, oh, this email doesn't exist. And you're like, oh yeah, I put the wrong email. So it depends on how secure this feature is. So I'd say, let's assume that it's not super secure. It's not like Alcatraz, right? It's not a bank or like some financial product or whatever. So we say, does the email exist? Right? And if it doesn't exist, then we need to tell the user that, basically we can't send you the email because this email actually doesn't exist. So if it's no, then we're going to show a message that says, show message that email does not exist. Okay? And if that's the case, the email doesn't exist, and we show that message. And by the way, you can always resize these things to make them look better. If you want to reduce the font size also, just to make it fit, that's fine. This might be a little too big, so I'll just do it like that. And then once the person is told that the email doesn't exist, sorry, this is a no, by the way. So you got to be careful with Lucidchart. It always assumes the first line you draw is a yes, but that in this case it's a no. So if the email doesn't exist, the next step is to do what? The user has to enter the email again, right? So you have to update the email, put a new email or the right email in here, right? If the email does exist, then there's a couple of things that we're going to do, right? The system is going to send a message, forgotten password message, the email that was entered. Oops. Are you guys tracking? You following?
Yep.
Going too fast? Going too slow?
No, this is good.
Good. Okay. And the system will send See, again, now it puts no. You gotta be really careful with this thing. It should be yes. Okay. So if the email exists, send the forgotten password message to the email, and this could also be a predefined process, but not really. It's just that there is a message that you'd have already coined to say, okay, click on this link or whatever, right? So we know the steps that are involved in sending the email. This is a backend system thing. So once you send the email, what's the next step? The user, and this would actually be a process that would have swim lanes. This would be a good swim lane process, but we could also map it without it. We probably should do an exercise where this becomes a swim lane, where you have the user, the system, and the support. Oh, be a good one. Okay, so in this case, it's just a regular flow without the swim lane. Then we can drag this over. Okay. Most of your time will be spent just lining stuff up. And it'll be very, very annoying, but you have to do it. Okay. So once you send the email, then the user needs to access the email and click on the link. Normally, when you click on the link, it takes you to a new screen or a new page that has the forgotten reset password option. And sometimes you could use and or having a separate step, because this kind of works together. You click on the link to get the reset password and you reset the password. But actually, I'm not going to make that. I'm going to make that into a predefined process, because reset password has different steps, right? So reset password includes checking to make sure that the new password matches the password policy, which could be 8 characters long, must have a special character, can't have numbers in consecutive order, blah blah blah, right? So whatever all those rules that they're going to validate against will be defined already, will be a process already to show the error if you don't meet certain rules, and so on and so forth. So we don't have to spell it out here. You could, because you're in the forgotten password, so you could spell it out here. But for the purposes of this class, we're going to just say this is a predefined process that we already know. So we're going to say research password. Okay. And that includes all the validation to make sure the new password is good. Okay. So once you reset the password, that's kind of it, right? Then the system will take them back to the login page once the password is reset. And they have to enter the new password to get in. And that's the end of the process. Or you could even, you have the same steps in 2 places. Typically, you don't want to have the same step in 2 places, where you probably have a line that goes to this. But watch this. If I try to make a line that goes all the way up here to this step, what's it gonna do? Oh, it won't cross over. It won't cross over, actually. That's good. But if you had it like this, for example, this would be wrong, because now this line crosses this line. So it'll be crossing here and crossing here, and that makes your process look ugly. And nobody wants to see that. So to avoid that, you could just say, create another process step that says user logs in, right? Just to avoid having lines that cross. Log in, and this will be the end. You reset your password, you've been able to log in, you're good, now you're done. Okay. And that's the process. Now, this could have been optimized if you had shown it in the process with a swim lane, because it would be clear who's doing what action, but that's fine. Actually, there's something that we missed, actually. Let me see. I think I missed something. It says, if link fails, user contacts help desk. if link fails. Okay, so in the event, because the link doesn't fail, like typically when an email link is sent out, the link doesn't, when you click on it, it's odd that the link would fail. I would think this would be more common, and you can map both processes out, but typically what will be happening is that they don't remember the email that they used. So they never get the link. they just don't remember what they signed up with. So we actually didn't add that, so we need to go add that. So it doesn't end, it ends here if they're able to click on the link, but what if they weren't able to click on the link? So maybe this has to become a decision to say, were you able to get the link? So the good thing about Lucidchart is it actually helps you to create the next shape. So see, it outlines the shape right here. So I could say, I just draw the line and then I could choose the shape that I want. See that? So user received link. Right? So the first question was the system asking, does the email exist in the system? So the system is checking. So maybe we can make this even clearer to say, does email exist in system? Just to make it clear that the system did not check. And then when, slide this up a little bit. Again, every time you add a word, it goes out of line. You gotta make it leave again. Okay. And if you want, we could probably make this text a little bit smaller so it can fit. And it's at 10 points. Let's make it 8, 9. Yeah, 9 fits. So let's say that. Okay. So this could be a decision. User received the link. If yes, which is this track, then everything that we already did is fine. Okay, it's fine. But if no, then we need to contact the help desk, and the help desk will reset the password. So here's what we can do to make that fit. And you're going to be constantly trying to realign everything so it can make sense, right? So you don't end up with the same item or the same task repeated in different places. You don't want to have one flow with the same task in different places. If you can try to get the arrows to go back to the task with the same task, then that would be great. And this is why I say making things simple is making it easy to read and not repetitive. Yeah. So I'm going to be stuck trying to make this straight now. Lucidchart tries to help you to align, but it's not always great. So here, instead of saying user resets password, I'm going to just say reset password, because it could be the user, it could be the support team. So now, if it's a no, then they have to contact the support team. So I'm going to pull this down a little bit. So we can have space for the next shape. So here, user received the link. If it's no, contact support. Okay. And when they contact support, there's going to be probably a number of steps that the support is going to take before they reset the password. So they have to like verify who you are. Because how do they know that they're resetting the password for the right person? They don't know that. They have to confirm. Maybe now they ask you your date of birth, your social security, all kinds of stuff to figure out who you are before they can go ahead and do anything for you. So now when they contact support, the next thing would be support agent has to go and verify your identity some kind of way. Support verifies, oh, sorry. This is actually the wrong shape. So if you're in the wrong shape, you can click on this. Oh, you can click on the shape and change the shape. Change shape. And you want to make it into a square. And now you have a square. So here, it's going to be verify identity. So actually, when you verify the identity, there's a number of steps already involved in this. So it will be a predefined step, actually. because they'll know what to ask you and what kind of questions that would be appropriate for verifying your identity. You don't have to map all of those things out. So um, support agent verifies identity. Yeah. Okay. And then once you're verified, then they can go ahead and reset your password. So let's bring this over here. Come on. There we go. So now we already have the flow here, which is reset the password for you. But guess what? Once they reset the password, you have to go back and change the password to your own password. So we could have, let's continue with this here. So here they're going to reset the password for you, but you're not just going to log in. Well, you're going to log in, but they're gonna force you to change the password because it was reset by the agent. But if you had reset it by yourself, you wouldn't be forced to change it. So how would you represent that on the flow? Kind of tricky, right? So cool. So we can move to this process, which is the reset password here. And then that moves to logging in, because once you reset, you now have the credentials to log in. But maybe it doesn't end. Maybe now, in order to know what the next step is, we'll have to say, was the password reset by the user or was it reset by the support? Okay, so now we ask, was password reset by support? If yes, then they got to go change that. We don't want support to have your password, right? So let's fix this coming. Actually, I could make this back to 9. And that would be okay. All right. So at this point, we ask, was the password reset by the support? And if the answer is yes, then what are we going to do? We're going to have them reset the password. So we're going to prompt the user to reset the password, so that nobody else has the password but the user, right? One thing about Lucidchart, it always put the word process in the box, so you have to remove it. So it's kind of annoying because I'd rather it just automatically have it empty, but it doesn't do that. So it's a little bit of a sticker for me. Okay. And then now we got to get it out. And now we're at the end. Now we can end. So you saw how a simple looking process turned out to have a lot of thinking. See? And these are very baby process compared to what you're going to be doing in the real world. This is baby stuff. So now you can go to the end, and then this will also look at the end. So let's look at this holistically to make sure we've captured everything. This is what your process step looks like for forgotten password. That's it. So you start by saying, access the login page, click on forgotten password, enter your email, right? So you could put another process here that says, view forgotten password scheme and enter email. So you probably could put another step here, but it's kind of okay if you don't, right? Then the system gonna check, does the email address exist in the system? If it doesn't, then we're gonna give you another chance to enter the email address again. Maybe you put in the wrong email or something, right? So this loop will continue until it's the right address. But what if it isn't? What if you never put in the right email address and you just keep on that page, enter, and keep giving you error messages, which is kind of okay until you close the browser, right? That's fine. If the email address exists, then we're going to send you a forgotten password link. I'll just say link. to your email, to the email that you entered. If you're able to receive the link, so you're able to log into the email and get access to the email that was sent and receive the link, then, and maybe it's not just receive, you receive, yeah, you can receive the link, then you can click on it. I was going to say receive and click, but we have another step for clicking. So if you receive it, yes, then if you click on it, then it's going to take you to the reset password screen. If you get to the reset password screen, then you're going to reset your password. Then you're going to be able to log in with that new password. And when you log in, it's going to check, was your password reset by the support agent? If it wasn't, then that's it. You get to continue viewing. That's the end of this process. If it was, then it's going to prompt you to change whatever password it was that the support agent gave you, so you can have your own personal password. Now let's go back to this other arm that we didn't go through. If you did not receive the link, which means that you checked your email, you put your email here, you got an email that you got a message that says email does not exist. So you didn't receive the link, then you're going to have to contact support. They're going to have to verify who you are. Then they're going to reset your password themselves. And then you're going to log in. And then the system will check, is this a password that was given to you by the support person? If it was, then you're going to reset it, and then you're back to the end. So this is how you would map a process like that out. Do you guys have any questions over time? Do you have any questions about these? Any questions about the shapes? Any question about just thinking through something like this? Feel like you missed any step? No? Feels like easy stuff? Yes. Okay, so that's what your process will look like, okay? So here's the homework I have for you. We have a lot of other process steps here, right? So you have custom ordering a product online. We have requesting annual lease. We have employee onboarding process. So these are the three that are left. I've already pasted this in our Slack channel. So if you have some time between this week and next week to create these simple process flows, you could use swim lanes. I think swim lanes are actually better. This example that we just did probably could have been done with a swim lane to make it more clear. But you could, where it calls for it, you can use swim lanes, and you can design that in either Miro. Miro is free for everybody. So you already have the link. If you can't find the link, if you go to Slack, at the top of the Slack, it's pinned at the top of the BA Connect channel. You go to the top, you just see all of the links that are pinned, and Miro is one of them. You can come into Miro, right? And you can just create this. This board is very big. I'm zoomed in that. Let's go down to like 5% or something. It's very, very big. So you could find a space on this board and just use it. Look at that. So much space. You can find a space on the same board, so you don't have to create a new board, and just use it, create a process flow diagram. And then you can mention me. If you're a professional member, you can add it to your Confluence page. If you're not a professional member, then you can always send it in the Slack. So my ask is to practice creating simple or classic process flows like we did today with these other use cases: the employee onboarding, the customer order online of a product, and requesting an annual leave. Really think through the process, right? So obviously they only have like 4 or 5 bullet points, but there's things in between. Like in the bullet point that we looked at for the reset password, we never talked about some of the steps, right? So just go through them and think, okay, how does this work? How would this work in a practical sense? What steps am I missing? What decisions do I need to make? And you'll be ending up exactly with diagrams that look exactly like this. Not exactly, but like, kind of flowing like this. This is the level of professional documentation that you need to be able to create to be a professional business analyst.